Hello and welcome to Expert Speaks. Today I am joined by a very special person. He's a retired Indian Army officer and currently an entrepreneur. He also co-founded Armor of Care, an NGO, as a prime focus of helping those in need of food and essentials. I am very happy to welcome Major Madan Kumar. Major Madan is an alumni of the prestigious Officers Training Academy, Chennai. Major Madan passed out of the academy in 2003 and subsequently was commissioned into the Indian Army. Thereon, the officer served the army for 6 years, with majority of his posting in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The officer has also served in Delta Force, part of Rashtriya Rifles, deployed in Doda district for counter-terrorism operations. Major Madan, thank you very much for talking to me, sir.
Thanks, Vijay, and thanks for connecting with me. It's been a pleasure to speak to you on this very critical subject. Namaste.
Namaste, sir. Jai Hind. Sir, before we begin, our congratulations to you and your amazing team for all the incredible work that you guys are doing. We know in these testing times, your volunteers are on ground. So, our congratulations, sir.
Thank you so much, Vijay. I'll pass on this good regards to my team. Thank you so much.
Sir, to start with, please tell us in brief what's happening in the line of actual control. There's so many speculations going around the social media platforms.
Yeah, we get to see a lot of news in the social media, especially on the Ladakh and Sikkim confrontation that we have with China. A lot of videos we get to see in the social media, especially Twitter and Facebook. A lot of reviews and counter reviews. We get to see a lot of this. Vijay, this is not something new or it's not something which is happening for the first time.
Yes, sir.
China's approach towards their neighbor was always this, and today is again the scenario is nothing different, but it's slightly at a larger scale, we should say. We can equate it with possibly the Doklam confrontation, which lasted for almost 70 days plus. And out here, we got to see fist fight, troops punching each other. This does happen, but it's quite not new. That's always been the aggression which China shows in its neighbors. And today they take advantage of the COVID scenario where they are through with the COVID and they'll be able to flatten the curve by around the second week of March. But the whole world is actually, trying to combat now. We are at the peak and they're already tapered down. So this is an opportunity for them to show their posture up. So they've been doing it in Doklam, they've been doing it right now in Sikkim and Ladakh, and they've been doing it in Hong Kong, Taiwan and South China Sea. It's nothing new or nothing surprising as such.
So what went wrong in our diplomacy? We hosted the Chinese president here in Mamallapuram, Tamil Nadu last year. Wasn't it an attempt to build good relation between both the countries?
See, there's nothing, the bilateral talks and the informal summit between President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister has not deal that we cannot be. But we need to look at what China has been doing. So if you refer back to 1962, the very famous saying by then Chinese president who said, Chini Hindi bye bye, right? So it's called brotherhood and such kind of bond openness. We can now here we get to see the same out what happened in last year, the informal summit. But that doesn't guarantee that the Chinese are going to improve or increase their confidence building pressure and head towards a very peaceful and a cordial relation with their neighbor. It's not a surprising one. The Chinese always have it's been a very volatile and very uncertain kind of a political leadership which they have. They always have a front door and the back door. If the front door is aggressive, the back door will be soft. Or if the back door is aggressive, the front door is going to be soft. This is how the way it works. So we saw the front door, very cordial. We spoke about the cultures of the ancient cultures of the country, which shared way back 3,000, 5,000 years ago. But now suddenly you see this kind of aggression, this carrot and stick, and the kind of strategy they have towards the neighbor, especially with India, the regional competitor in Asia, is going to be this way, and in future it is also going to be this way. There's no major surprise for the so we really can't get disappointed, because of certain Chinese factors. They always been used to do this.
Sir, we get news that the PLA has moved 2 brigades with over 6,000 soldiers in the eastern Ladakh. So, what's the strategy behind such a massive deployment of the army, sir?
Yeah, we would say like this is a kind of a surprise move by China. Every year we do our war exercise, war games in our territory, and they do also do the same. This brigade or the movement of troops is not some troops which were planned and deployed from elsewhere.
Sure.
This is the same set of troops who are there for a war game. As a principle, once your war game is over, you get back to your bases. In this case, they didn't go back to their bases. They moved that amount of troops to the front end border, which is Ladakh and Sikkim. India, we always have a second mover at strategy with China. We don't do first mover strategy as we do with Pakistan these days. The past 4 years we have seen because of a lot of other reasons which we all know. There's a lot of economic implications both the country would have. We would always want to have a very washed out and a very cordial relation with our neighbor. Nevertheless, saying without downing our guard, it means that we are not going to give an inch of our territory to China.
Right.
And we will always be a second mover. If they deploy 2 brigades, we are going to deploy 2 brigades. If they bring in their artillery, we will also bring in our artillery. That's what has happened now. So if we say that 5,000 troops or a brigade plus or 2 brigades plus have moved from the Chinese territory, with the best of the information we have, I am discounting a lot of the so-called Indian authors or the legends who keep writing stories here. But we can rely on some satellite imagery, and the satellite imagery can be read anyway. I can see a stone as a stone, and you can see a stone as a diamond. But there are experts who read this. So what we understand is both the borders. We are asked to our deployment or base is around 2 kilometers inside the Indian territory, and they are also 2 kilometers inside the Chinese territory. Effectively, it's a 4 kilometer kind of a scenario we have. If China is going to beef up, or China is going to further, increase their troops or their deployment, we also will equally do the same.
Right.
So this is how it is going to go. We will always be a second mover who will react with the equal might, if not much better, in such occasions where China tries to pull their muscles off.
Sir, some defense analysts and some veterans say that this is an intelligence failure and the army leadership missed calculating China's move. I know you wouldn't want to comment on your senior officers and your peers' statements. You don't want to contradict them. But just tell us, sir, is this an intelligence failure?
I would not use a term called intelligence failure. Intelligence failure means you completely lost something. You're taken, November 11 was intelligence failure. Right? So this cannot be, I would not call it as an intelligence failure. Yes, but there was an element of surprise which we missed. Right. China was doing a war game close to their western border, and it was a routine exercise. The countries do exchange information about the war games which they conduct close by, in their own territory even. But in this case, as I said, mid of March, when they were doing this war game and all, the COVID was pretty much under control as far as China is concerned. So this sudden movement of troops is basically those troops which are supposed to go back to their base camps after the exercise is over, now got deployed in Ladakh and Sikkim, which is definitely a surprise which China gave it to us. Is it lack of intelligence or intelligence failure? It may not be an intelligence failure, we could say. Definitely there is a surprise, and we should accept that we have been surprised by this move of China. But we do have a very strong and robust intelligence mechanism in place.
Right, sir. Sir, the dispute with China is not new. We had the Doklam standoff in 2017, and subsequently both the countries mutually agreed to disengage. And thereafter, the sidelines of the BRICS summit, PM Modi and Xi Jinping held long discussions. Now we have come to yet another standoff with China, this time here in eastern Ladakh. Is this China's attempt to salvage its image internally, given the fact that India's application of Article 370 didn't go well with China, and they've been behind Pakistan, and Pakistan and China have been raising this issue in global forums?
Yeah, let's look at this issue in a different way. For China, as far as China is concerned, their immediate regional competitor is India, and their global competitor is US.
Right.
So all their strategies, whether be it political, economical, social, and the military, will be pertaining to these two nations.
Right.
So we clearly having a clear-cut policies for the past 3 decades or so, how to deal with this two competitors whom they feel, one is India and one is US. So when India abrogated the Article 370, maximum noise came from Pakistan. You know, this is what India is trying to do. They were trying to portray India as demonized forces who been occupying Kashmir, which was not the case. But China kind of maintained a silence at that point of time. You see the news and all, they were very, very subdued. There was no major communication which came from the Chinese political leadership. Yes, of course, they did take this opportunity being a UN veto member. In Security Council, they supported for China to get this Kashmir issue getting discussed. But beyond that, there was no rhetoric or there was no major pushback from China at that point of time. Yes, they did wait for that time. The opportune time is the current scenario where the entire world is fighting the COVID pandemic, the Chinese virus. But China has flattened the curve somewhere in the mid of March, where the rest of the world has started bringing the heat of this deadly virus in the mid of March. So it's a clear go scenario for them where they can pressurize their neighbors.
Right.
They have been doing it in Hong Kong, they have been doing it in Taiwan, they have been showing their hand in this with their neighbors in South China Sea. And for India as well, they have been trying to be showing an aggressive posture in Sikkim and Ladakh. That's primarily part of their strategy. If it is not now, then when we should do. Article 370, yes, was another reason where they really want to check India for their kind of India's move towards Kashmir. And today we have taken claim for the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. In very near future, in our lifetime, we will see that being formally annexed with India. Which, in case it clearly says the road, the biggest road which they are trying to build, the CPEC. So that passes through the Baltistan province of the current part of Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So that's one of the reasons for it. But is it a trigger for them to go aggressive against India? No, that's not the story, because they want to capitalize the maximum out of the current situation. Not only with India, with almost all the countries in the world.
It's an act of flexing their muscles, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the world is getting committed. Most of the countries have committed their armed forces in battling this casualty, this particular crisis. Even the countries' armed forces have faced a lot of casualties. India is able to manage far better. Our recovery rate is much higher. But for them, it's an opportune time to really flex their muscles and take maximum benefits out of this.
Sir, that brings me to my next question, sir. We know this is not 1962, sir, and we are well prepared militarily speaking. But what do you think the army will do to tackle the situation if things were to escalate?
If things were to get escalate, as I said, India is always the second mover as far as Indo-China thing is concerned, especially the military reaction. So if they bring in a brigade, we are going to bring in a brigade, and so if they bring in the RT guns in, we already bought that in. And now we hear the news that they're getting their special forces in and they're getting their air force, built up. We do have built up our backlines, and definitely that's going to be the kind of reaction we will have. If at all there is a confrontation and if it's going to get escalated, we would at the max see a 10-day high intense war which is happening between India and China. Because as General Malik said a couple of times, former chief, India and China getting into war is not a war between two countries, because India and China together constitutes around 1/3 of the world's population.
Right.
So it is the start of the World War, which no country in this world would want to at this current point of situation. So we can see a limited high intensity warfare being fought, maybe a battle of 10 to maximum 15 days. Because beyond that, between such the world's fourth largest army and the military power and the world's third, it's going to go beyond, and both are equally nuclear capable and missile capable. I think that post that 10 days, it will get de-escalated, but there will be a good amount of bloodshed in both the sides. And see, at the end of the day, once China does this with India, what is it going to exactly gain? is not going to gain the territory as such, because India's fundamental part of defense is we will not leave an inch of our territory. So billions of dollars of money and then life and then their time getting in, and we really know the Chinese army has not been tested. The PLA has not been tested for quite some time.
Right.
So if they end up in losing this battle, then China is going to get into an irreparable damage, and the current strategy is already taken. I don't think so. They will go beyond 10 days of conflict.
This is one of the most important questions which I'd like to ask. You know, you've been seeing the videos that are doing rounds on social media platforms with regard to scuffle that broke out between the Indian forces and the Chinese army. You know, some of the forces were from the ITBP, Inter-Tibetan Border Police, and Indian Army Jawans. So the fight was really ugly, and even Chinese left their jeep, the patrol jeep, and they ran away. One of the Chinese soldier was injured, and the Indian Army officer was rescuing. You know, he rescued him and he gave him the first aid and all. So, what would you like to say for that?
See, I would not give much attention to such videos which is coming up in the social media. Like 2 minutes of a video will not give you the real picture.
Right.
The real picture is something different. There are certain times where the video Pakistan bots and their intelligence agency was trying to kind of making it viral, whereas the Indian soldier was kicked by a Chinese counterpart. Now this is not a heroic act which is happening, or this is not a movie which is happening. This aggression is there with the both sides. As I said, we are always second mover. If they get aggressive, we do get aggressive. And the level of aggressiveness cannot be rated by just a few odd videos. As far as I am concerned, we can keep away from these videos. It does entertain us. But beyond that, will it be a bigger advantage for any of us? That's not the case.
Right.
Not a single round has been fired since 40 plus years now. But fist fight, hitting each other, stoning, when Chinese instigate, we do respond back.
Right.
So such videos, we will keep seeing such videos in future as well.
So we also have one more trouble brewing with Nepal. Even the chief has also said that they are acting at the behest of someone else. Do you think China wants to fight us in all the corners, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. Today they are in a situation where they are contained the virus. Their economy is falling back, and their people are back to normalcy. A couple of flights started operating out of Beijing as well.
Right.
But in this scenario, when you have a strategic advantage over your neighbor, like of late Nepal, we saw a change in the guard. There's a Maoist and a communist government, which is neither facing with that of China. So they would take advantage of this. We may not get surprised if Bhutan goes this way. We have seen Sri Lanka and Maldives suddenly becoming hostile between 2012 and 2015. But later on, we did see a change in the government. When Sri Lankan government got changed and Rajapaksa was ousted as a prime minister, he has openly come out and said that the Indian government has influenced the Sri Lankan elections. So we do have I'm not saying that we did influence them. As a democratic country, we don't get into such steps. But definitely, there is something. The actions, the strategies involved, which is not seen or should not be seen by the public eyes. Nepal, currently we have such a situation. Maybe down sometime we will see a change in the Nepalese government as well.
So will Pakistan join this unholy alliance to create more trouble for us? Because their masters are behind this standoff, and they can't afford to say no to their masters. Will Pakistan join the Chinese aggression, and will it create more trouble for us around the northern borders, because we are bordering our states like Punjab, Gujarat and Kashmir?
See, Western theatre, there are a lot of places we have strategical advantage, and there are a lot of places which our neighbor also does have an advantage. But looking at the current scenario, Pakistan's narrative on Kashmir was more, it was initially Kashmiriyat, and then later on it became, Islamic nation kind of a thing, and later on it went into ISIS. They have been constantly changing their thing, but the objective remains same, that they need to keep the Kashmir disturbed and keep the elected governments off and keep the peace and destruction. But in this current scenario, the Pakistan military leadership is clearly worried about one thing. by their on the base of their masters, which is China, if they get into a, say for example, a two-front war, if they get into a war with India, and if they end up losing their occupied Kashmir, that's going to be a death nail for them. It is going to be a repeat of what happened in 1972. We saw a new democratic nation, Bangladesh, coming up. We will also see something like this, Balochistan, coming up. So they are very skeptical about this fact. Yes, what kind of nexus or nefarious activity may they lead in is to increase the terrorism influx in Kashmir, more subversive activities and aversive activities like bomb blast and suicide blast and stuff, which we clearly saw 2-3 days back. There was a truckload of ammunition which was dumped in a car.
Absolutely.
For a similar Pulwama style attack, but we could defeat it.
Yes, sir, we could thwart
So
that.
they will not go with the conventional war because the price which they go, which they're going to pay if they lose is going to be very high, and they have never won a war with us, which is part of the history. So in these times, even at the base of the master, I don't think so they will be getting into a war with India, but definitely there will be kind of increased pressure in isolated areas and within our Kashmir as well.
The social media platforms are filled with pro-Chinese propaganda. Some of our people are singing Chinese praises. These guys are not amateurs, sir. These guys are well educated and they are well employed. Some of them are chartered accountants, some of them are engineers, some of them are doctors. Sir, I'd like to ask you, has China penetrated into our space? This is an act to divide Indians, sir. So how do we tackle the Chinese invasion?
See, China's digital presence is high. They have a clear advantage in terms of their digital supremacy. They do have their own propaganda machineries. Chinese money is huge. They can just splurge the money in getting those things done. And we have certain greedy people out in our own country who does get into all these things. But these supporters are minuscule. I would say less than 1%. I've seen a couple of posters of Xi Jinping coming up in streets of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, where they advertise them that he's a superstar who can control this virus. But the rest of the world, 99% of the world is saying that the virus itself came from China, and China is only responsible for this. So to counter this, we do have a strategy. We are a democratic country, right? So we cannot absolutely go and arrest each and everybody who's posting a kind of an anti-India and a pro-China view. There are very few of them, and they definitely are not doing on. I don't see a Indian national doing it for any such reasons until unless it's been part of a bigger design. Right. Yes, it's been part of a bigger design. The intelligence agencies will also be closely monitoring this, I'm sure about it. But the nexus will be coming out. We'll see who's the funder and who's the workers and who are trying to do all this. We as a nation should stand together and equally fight this battle out in the social media.
Right, sir. Absolutely, sir. This brings me to another question. Right, sir. So, last but not least, hopefully we settle this issue in the diplomatic channels and through the army commanders talks. We had the talks between divisional commanders level and the co-commanders talks are yet to happen. Sir, if there is, if there is no solutions that we could attain mutually, we have to prepare for the worst. In that case, sir, who are our allies to depend on? Even if it is going to be a 10-day standoff, battle that goes for 10 days or 15 days. Can we count on the United States, sir? And what about Russia? Because Russia and the United States haven't fought in a single corner.
See, if this gets escalated, as I said, it's going to be a trigger of a world war. When 1/3 of the country's population, two countries are going to fight, the 2/3 of the population cannot, of the world cannot, stay away from it. It will definitely rope in US. At the start, I would expect, which is it's not expectation, it's going to be reality. If such a thing happens, US will allow their military bases to be used by India. We already have a signed agreement when President Obama was in India, and then the agreement got signed. A week before, we have a similar agreement signed off between India and Australia. Right. So, exchange of this military bases, I'll use yours and you will use mine. It may be refueling, it may be logistics, or it may be anything. So, that support, we can expect that support from US in the start of it. And if beyond a point, if we strike them in South China, which is all likely, if we dominate Indian Ocean and we blockade Chinese ships from entering Indian Ocean, and in a way we try to cut off their oil, which is a very right thing to do. China is completely aware of it. In that case, if South China Sea gets dominated by China, if China gets more aggressive in South China Sea, it will definitely rope in the US Navy in. They already did a war game 10 days before. They've simulated a laser-based weapon attack system. They've shot on their own drone. So when US comes in, and the US Navy comes into play in South China Sea, Russia would not be sitting quiet. Russia has to equally give a counter to the US in terms of, just deterring the dominance. So those kind of level of influence we can expect from these two countries. If we there will not be a scenario possible where Russia joined with we know that a year before, so I'm not forgetting the date. Chinese and Russian army did a war game.
Yes,
they had a war game together, which was unlikely earlier. They never had done it. But in this case, I'm still not convinced, or the situation is not going to get that interrogated. That Russia will join hands with China on the ground and fire the two militaries and coming and attacking India. That's not going to be the scenario. Russia, as far as Russia is concerned, it is not gaining anything in getting involved in India and China, battle is concerned. But for sure, they'll have to get involved when the US comes into play. When the US comes into play, they have to get involved. So such level of escalations, you may see a heated scenario out in South China Sea and in Indian Ocean, and to an extent in Pacific as well, which is dominated by the US, Japan, and China. But on the military ground, I don't think so. There will be such an invasion of that sort which will happen.
Right, sir. Major Madan, thank you very much for talking to me, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Vijay. Namaskar. Jai Hind. Thanks for your time. We'll keep meeting again.